Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Three Men in Football. All right, lads?
Thomas, Simon, how are we?
Hey, boys. How we doing?
Great. You have a good weekend, everyone. Everyone have a nice weekend. That's important.
Darren, you look like an Aston Villa slut.
I don't
care. Yeah, to be fair, he deserves his moment. So let's give it to him. We'll give the game maybe 2 minutes later on.
I presume we're having a full hour on Aston Villa. Is that how it works now? Because we did an hour of Liverpool when they did quite well. Now we do an hour of Villa. Is that how it works?
I love the fact that Thomas has strapped on a smile because right up until we kicked off, he looked like he'd just been dragged through a hedge.
Simon, he's gone all showbiz, hasn't he? He's like, yes, he's put the showbiz face on for the camera.
Do you know what I've done? Know what I've done, Si? I've got myself a nice little blonde to cheer me up.
Oh, yeah.
And not the type of blonde that you're thinking, because my wife will kill me. This little blonde.
No, it's funny, Thomas, because I've got a drink in here as well.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to let Simon ask you what it is.
What have you got, Daz?
7-Up.
Hey!
Not bad.
Thomas, what is that drink? What is it? Is it a Leffe?
A Leffe blonde.
Nice. Like it.
Cheers, everyone.
All right, so what we're going to do is we'll go through some comments again to kick things off from the Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and then we'll get into talking about the games from the weekend. We're not going to talk about next week or this weekend's games because obviously it's England. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but none of us are going to spend much time talking about or watching England. And then we'll see how we get on with we're talking about the Sunday's incidents, should we say. So let's kick off with comments. So the first one was from Laura Watson. Glad to see Darren's wearing a lovely lanyard I got him. I think it looks much better than this usual Villa one, to be fair. And then she went on to say, anything is better than Villa.
Yeah,
I really like it.
To be fair, Laura's now sacked from the school. So if anyone's looking for a TA, please get in touch because Laura's all right. She's decent, but, you know, her taste in football isn't as good as mine.
She's brilliant. I thought that was really good. And then probably one of the best things I've seen in the last week was Matthew Bashu, who found us a boy band image and pasted our faces over the real faces. And he wanted to be our fourth member, which I thought was a really good offer.
I mean, we can't offer, we got to audition. We don't just take anyone's sign, for goodness sake.
The best thing about it was that when he was talking about how good he was at dancing, he put up the gif of, what's his name? West Ham manager.
Alan Pardew.
Oh yes.
God, I hate him.
It was just brilliant. He's doing his dance. Oh, that Thomas really likes on the sidelines. Oh my God, brilliant. So yeah, that was his audition. So he's going to be the fourth member apparently.
He's out.
Yeah. So then the next one was after the last episode, and it was from Dean Booth. It was quickly becoming number one fan, which I love. One episode, one of my favourites so far. And the comment at the end about your auntie would be your uncle was priceless. I was laughing my head off. I do love a Thomas Morris wall of hate and teacher of the year 2 years running. Darren, his forfeit should be a 3-minute stand-up set. Or would that be unfair to the listeners?
I'll have to cut it down from the hour and a half that I've written.
And then he said, my final thought is the only name you can possibly have for the boy band, for your boy band, he doesn't want to be in it, has to be No Identity.
To be fair, I think that's a cracking name for a boy band.
Brilliant, isn't it? He's a class episode, keep it up. Fair play on the Firmino argument. He was loving the fact that we were arguing about Firmino. Although it was funny because he was loving the argument and then Bob Ullring was saying we don't argue enough.
Yeah.
So that was from Dean Booth. Gives us loads of comments on Facebook. Thanks, Dean. We appreciate you listening. And then the last one was from Joey Holmes, which I thought was the best thing I've heard in a while. So this was on Sunday before the game. And he said, I would like to go on record and say, when Liverpool win tonight, the league is over. I'm done. If I am wrong, the team that wins the league, I will get the leading goal scorer tattooed on my backside. And just to let you know, I hate tattoos, I don't see the point. That is how confident I am in my team.
Can I just
Obviously,
yeah.
He then went on to lose 7-2.
Yeah. Can I just say, Si, I last see Joey walking on the M62 with a bag, just looking at his shoes. He was so despondent. You could see life's been sucked out of the guy.
It was brilliant because some of the comments around it was just genius. I don't think we've had as many comments as we did on that. But as soon as we got beat, everyone just absolutely hammered them.
But what I did like was the names that they were being put forward that really hope Arsenal win the league, so he has to get Aubameyang on his ass.
Yeah.
It was good. He's good.
Good.
He's good for the laugh though, Joey. He does put some good stuff up there. So we appreciate the feedback. Keep it coming. The Facebook is going really well because everyone's posting on there and people are putting all sorts of stuff on there. People are being respectful as well as taking the piss a little bit, which we don't mind. So it's going really well. So keep it coming. If you're not on the Facebook, join the Facebook page and let us know your thoughts, and maybe you can get read out on the next podcast. Anything you want to mention in the comments that you picked up?
No, I love the interaction that we have. Someone can throw a comment up while they're watching a game, and next thing you know, there's a dialogue going on, and I think it's great. I also like the fact that people have a go at us as well because of our comments or of our arguments. I think that's really good. Shows really good interaction. However, we are looking for a fourth member because he's not coming in, is he? Bashu. He's not
no.
going to be a fourth. So we are looking for a fourth member. If you want to send your audition tapes in to our Facebook group, you're more than welcome. Your dancing or singing skills, because we haven't got any, so that'll be a bonus.
I mean, we haven't got any gigs or anything, but we just want to take the piss out of you. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Someone made a comment about me, saying that I don't like Chelsea. It always seems to be a Chelsea player or someone related to Chelsea me wall hate. That's because of effing hate Chelsea.
I love the fact that you stopped yourself there.
Yeah, he's edited.
Well done.
He's got a filter. Who knew?
We just need a button.
I took it up before, and I was walking around the park, and I've got the dogs, and these old ones walk around with me, and they've got their dogs, and I forgot about my filter, and happened, and I said, "What a thought!" and the face and the laughing. Oh my! I can't even begin to tell you what it was. It was that filthy.
Thomas is now banned from the park.
You need to be very careful hanging out with our ladies in the park. Come on, mate. That's so good.
Still with me.
Are you calling her an our lady? The good thing is she doesn't listen to this, so she'll never know.
Yeah, she never supports your dreams, so we're all right.
All right, so before we get into the events of Sunday, let's talk about Saturday's games. So the first was Chelsea Crystal Palace, and Chelsea absolutely battered Crystal Palace 4-0. Chilwell scored his first goal. Zuma scored, and then Jorginho scored 2 penalties with that stupid stutter run up. What is that all about?
I just want to trip him up, I'll be honest with you. But is that allowed? Because I know at one point they were stopping years ago. Aldridge brought it back, yeah. And they were stopping him saying it's not a clean run up or something. Are they going to do that to him, or is this now allowed all of a sudden?
Yeah, the only thing you're not allowed to do now is pretend to strike the ball and then wait for the goalie to dive and then put it in the empty net.
Yeah, you should just get booked anyway, because that skip's ridiculous.
Well, Dingo's copied them now, hasn't he? There's a couple copied them.
Yeah.
Guy at Everton, that's just been loaned out to, is it PSG?
I'm not sure.
Who's that? Moise Keane.
Yeah, he copied last week.
And then Fernandes does it as well.
At the weekend, yeah, and I just thought, oh my God.
I don't like it. I think it should be a clean run up.
Julian Dix just leathering the ball as out. That's actually a penalty. If they save it, well in, because they're going to get knocked out.
Or that Maitland-Niles against Liverpool, where he just strolled up as if he was like, just going to pass the ball and then put it in the top corner.
So there were some good pens in that game, by the way.
Yeah. I thought Chelsea did pretty well. They played well. They seem to be getting it together a little bit better, which obviously is not good to see, but I think we predicted that anyway. Yeah,
just on that though, Si, I watched the game full because I'm self-isolated. I'm not allowed out. And Palace were in the game at 1-0, but then Palace didn't have a plan B. And the plan A was just try and defend and do the counter. But once you go 1-0 down, that stopped because you've got nothing to play for. The 2 lads in midfield who we praised the week before.
Yeah, McCarthy.
I think they possibly got subbed towards the end because they don't know what to do then. Palace struggled. Zaha struggled in the game, if I remember rightly. But Chelsea didn't play particularly strong for about an hour, and then gradually got into the game. And Chilwell was excellent, I felt. Zuma, excellent. Again, what we need to see from Chelsea, I think, is the strikers. Who's the guy they just bought, and the other 75 million, and the other guy, Werner and
Havertz,
Havertz. I think they've got to pick the game up, I'll be honest with you, because Palace sat back, and so Werner had no runs to make. And now we're going to talk about the high line later on, but there's also the counter is when you're playing deep, you're not getting the ball behind you, but they're playing in front of you. And they played well in front of them at times, Chelsea. And I think the international break's probably come at the wrong time.
Yeah, I thought, so I was the game as well, and I thought Chelsea overran the midfield in the end.
Yeah, in the end, yeah.
That's where I think Crystal Palace struggled. So McCarthy and MacArthur didn't do as well as they normally would because they were just overran with players. And because they, like most of the top teams now, between the midfield and the attack, they're kind of interchanging all the time. And I just think Crystal Palace just got a bit lost.
Yeah, Zaha wasn't very good either, was he?
No, he wasn't, no.
So in the game, generally when Zaha's on it, he actually attracts a bit of extra players to come over and close some space, which then frees up a bit of space for other players to get in behind or create chances for other players on the pitch. And when he's off his game, the fullbacks just got him marked, and it was pretty easy for them all game. He didn't put a lot of pressure on the rest of the team, which is a shame really, because he started so well the season.
But I think Zaha is very hit and miss. I think I don't see the attraction of him going to a top 4, 5, 6 club. I don't see him doing it week in and week out. Would he do it with better players? I don't know, but there's something about him I just can't see. I think he's got his level, and I think possibly a mid-table team is his level.
Well, I mean, all we can base it on is he's had a go, hasn't he? And it didn't work out. So there's something not right there. And I think you're right, he's not consistent enough. And in the bigger teams, you need to be consistent.
Yeah,
you've got to be playing well every week or you're not getting in the team.
There would have been bids in for him as well, wouldn't there? There would have been.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they're after big money for him. But surely teams were crying out for attacking players in the league this year. Could have went for him. And they obviously haven't. Or if they have, they don't think he's worth the money that they're asking.
I mean, I think they were talking at one point 80 million.
Yeah.
And then he's probably going to end up on 200 grand a week or something.
Yeah, but the numbers are crazy at the moment. I heard something this week which I couldn't believe. Ruben Loftus-Cheek at Chelsea is paid 150,000 a week.
What?
Wow.
150,000. So he's gone to Fulham. But an issue with the deal was Fulham didn't want to pay 150,000 a week. So basically, Chelsea are going to have to fund some of his wages for the period. So they were talking about whether they pay 50%, and the argument was how much they pay. I don't know where it ended up, but he ended up going to Fulham. But as part of that whole process, it come out that he was on 150,000 a week. Are you kidding me?
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
He must have played, I don't know, 5, 6 games last year.
And he's another one, I think, who he'll find a level. I don't think it's a top 6 level.
No.
He doesn't do enough for me. He came through. All these players come through when they're young, and they do very well because they're stronger, quicker, faster than lots of other players around at their age. But when they go to almost like men's football, they struggle because the things they could do against youth players, they can't do it with men's level. They just can't, because Barkley suffered with it, I think, because Barkley was always bigger and stronger than everybody else. Then you start to get into bad habits. And when you're playing against good, solid players in the Premier League or even the Championship, you can't do that. And I think that's where a lot of these players struggle. Like, I'm not fussed on this Sancho at wherever he is, because I don't think he's done enough.
We'll come on to that in a bit, because that's obviously one of the misses of the transfer window, or perceived misses of the transfer window. All right, let's go on to the next game, because it was a big one for the Northwest. Everton kept their win and run going and beat Brighton 4-2. Calvert-Lewin scored again inside the 6-yard box, a really good header. And Rodriguez scored 2. God knows how that happened, because he scored 2 goals at the back post in basically exactly the same spot, and there was no one marking them both times. Yeremina scored as well. Mopé and Basuma scored for Brighton. But one of the funniest talking points was Pickford. What was he doing for Mopé's goal?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it was in his hands, and there's been a couple of things going on this weekend, because it was wet and it was horrible. And Thomas and I were at the game on Saturday. It was absolutely lashing down. So it was definitely wet. But he had it in his hands and then he dropped it.
Yeah. And a goalkeeper of international class shouldn't be doing that. I don't care if it's slippy. I don't care if it's snowing. He should not be doing that. But Pickford...
No.
Yeah.
International class.
No, but he's playing for England. He's in the England squad. So you would class him as an international.
Absolutely useless.
Oh, I agree at the moment. I think there's massive issues mentally with him because I think he has this overconfidence. And when you're overconfident, your concentration goes because you think things are easy. And I think he suffers with that massively. I think he needs to get challenged over it, and he should be either dropped for a couple of games, taken out, because I think that will refocus him in. I think David James went through something similar with Liverpool years ago. And David James was a top goalkeeper. But he did have those moments in games when he was just like, you're thinking, how's he missed that? Where's that gone? And goalkeepers, as much concentration as any other player, if not more, on the pitch, because they're in the game for short periods, but it's high intense. And I think Pickford's suffering from that.
Remember the David James one against Blackburn when it went through his legs?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some absolute crackers. And keepers will make those mistakes. The problem is when you're in goal, you're in the firing line. So it's going to happen. But he made so many.
Pretty much.
Say again?
Every time you make a mistake when you're in goal, it costs you a goal.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Whereas you make mistakes right across the pitch, and most of them don't result in a goal happening.
Yeah. Let's get on to the positives of the Everton performance, because again I watched that game as well, and Everton did really well again.
Yeah.
Brighton are a decent team, and they've been doing all right, and they did great last year, but Everton just blew them away. And they should never have scored the 2 goals. Basuma's actually was a decent goal, but Mopé definitely shouldn't have scored. But they played really well. Rodriguez did great again, getting up and joining the forwards. As I say, scored the 2 goals and was in the box, in and around the box an awful lot. And they were putting so much pressure on Brighton that they just couldn't deal with it.
I think what Brighton have got is a philosophy. They've got a footballing philosophy and they're going to live or die by it. And that's going to be the bottom line with Brighton. Have they got enough quality to get them out of trouble if they're in trouble? I'm not sure they've got enough goals in the team to get out the bottom 4 this year. I think they're trying to play the right way, and they've got to be commended for that. But sometimes, you've got to change your style in accordance. Villa did it last season. We struggled massively because we wanted to play a certain way. You have to change. Do you remember years and years ago, I think in the 90s, Swindon came up with Glenn Hoddle? And Swindon were a great footballing side, passed the ball well, but they kept getting beat. So what do you do? Do you change your philosophy, or do you say, well, actually, you know what? We're going to keep playing this way and we'll go down? I think I think Brighton are one of those teams that have got massive decisions to make after Christmas.
Yeah, I don't think they'll have a problem, Darren. I think, like you're saying, they have got a philosophy in the way that they play, and I think they have got the quality. We've seen against Chelsea, where they hit the crossbar, was it 5 times? Or was it against Man United? They played Chelsea first game, gave them a really good game, and they're top sides, and they didn't look out of place. And I think when they get down in the fight against the teams around their level, I think their quality in football will see them through. I think they're going to be down there towards the bottom, but I don't think they'll be in the bottom 3 at the end of the season. I think they've got the quality to stay up and also turn over some of the big teams.
Did we have them for going down? Any of us? We didn't, did we? No.
I think you might have, Simon.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to check that. But while we're on it, let's have a look at the scores that we come up with last week. Actually, for Chelsea, Crystal Palace, I had 3-1 Chelsea. Darren, you had 2-1 Chelsea. Thomas, you had 1-1. And then for Everton, I had 3-2 Everton. Darren, you had 3-0 Everton. And Thomas, you had 2-0 Brighton. So that shows how well Brighton were doing now as well on a run-up to it. We thought that there was a chance that Brighton would make this close. It wasn't even close. Everton blew them away. Even though they scored a couple of goals and actually it ended up 4-2. They were really good. But
just on that side as well, Everton made 1 or 2 changes in the squad and rotated it, which I thought was interesting because Sigurdsson and Davis last year wouldn't have got close to that level that they've been playing. But actually, they stepped up their game as well. And you start looking at Everton thinking, well, do you know what? They've got 14 to 15 there, good players. 1 or 2 injuries to key players, I think they're going to struggle a little bit. But hopefully, they keep those key players fit, and I think it's going to be a great season for them.
It's a panic, innit? Because they look pretty good. I know we're coming up to the derby, and that'll be a big game for us. And I almost think that the fact that we got beat at the weekend, going into the derby after an international break, might do us a favour because we'll have Mane and Thiago back. But I think that's a big game. Now that's the biggest game so far this year, Everton Liverpool now, and it hasn't been like that for years.
Yeah.
When was the last time you thought a derby is like really close in terms of quality and there could be a real challenge?
Can I ask, is it at Anfield or Goodison?
It's at Goodison, the first one.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. And I really hope that both sides are at full strength or as close to full strength as they possibly can be. And then there's no excuses then, is there? You know, if they both turn up and play on the day, then we're in for a cracking game. And if we've got, you know, both decent sides out and one team gets the better of the other, there's no excuses. You can't say, oh, I was missing this fella or we had a few injuries coming into it. You know, Everton have buoyed. They've even today, someone's been down to Melwood and written on the wall of Liverpool's training ground. What's his name? The manager. Fantastico.
Ancelotti, Carlos.
Ancelotti. Fantastico. Ancelotti or whatever they write, or the song that they've got for him. You know, what a disgrace. What a disgrace. After this international break, they're going to get a spanking.
I love it. I love the fact that it's competitive again now. I mean, I obviously I want Liverpool to beat them and I want to win the league, but I love the fact that it's competitive because the derbies have been crap for years.
Yeah, Simon and Thomas, can I just come in there? Thomas, I hope you're not going to start blaming your missed players for Sunday's game.
All right, let's wait. Let's wait. Come on. You'll get your chance, Daz. Don't worry. Poor Thomas is going to have a hard time.
Yeah, right. Fall off here.
So let's go to the next game for a team that we've been talking about quite a bit. Leeds against Man City. That was a 1-1 draw. Rodrigo scored a goal. I thought it was a decent goal. And he did quite well in the game as well. And Sterling scored for Man City. And what I noticed about the game was De Bruyne did pretty well in parts during the game at the post with a free kick. Lost the game a little bit, but they just couldn't score a goal. And they seemed to be on top early on. And then Leeds got more and more into the game as it went. City had a couple of breakaway chances, but that's pretty normal. But I actually thought they handled themselves really well. I mean, it was at Ellen Road, but I think that's a decent result for Leeds.
I think it's an excellent result for Leeds. And I think it's a shame because Ellen Road would have been bouncing if they've had the fans in and possibly got them over into a win. Again, impressed with Leeds. Bamford, I think, is doing well. I think he's holding the ball up well. The energy, I mean, people are commenting how fit Leeds are, and the energy Leeds have is phenomenal. If you look at City, I think De Bruyne looks a little bit frustrated because he's looking for passes, he's looking for players, and they don't seem to be making the runs that they did previously. I think interesting that they brought in the new signing City to play centre half. I thought that was interesting. They left my mate Aki out, which was a shame because he would have scored. But I do think City have got a massive problem because I just don't see them as a team at the moment. I don't see them having that fluidity that we've seen with Guardiola's teams in the midfield over the years and almost playing with a false number 9 and everyone plays in different positions. It's not quick enough. The ball's not moved quick enough. I think they're really struggling at the moment, City.
But Darren, you've forgot that Aguero and Jesus are both out. So their only real goal threat in front of De Bruyne is Sterling. And Sterling always starts his runs from quite deep. Yeah. So he's not one that's going to run him behind. Well, he does do that, but he's not, if he's playing as a forward, he's not one that, you know, he's going to run him behind, or he's not known for his movements as such, whereas Everton usually comes from a bit deeper with Sterling. And when you've got Aguero and Jesus, their movement's phenomenal. They're here, there and everywhere, always looking for the ball. And then as soon as the ball's gone, they're into space wanting it back to try and get a shot off. That's the difference. Funnily enough, your dad on Saturday at our game, just leaving that game for 1 second, South Liverpool played Garston on Saturday and we won 6-0, a brace from the big fella there, Simon. But Jeff, your dad, give me some wise words on the line. Our superstar striker was out injured, a bit of flu. And I had to play a couple of midfielders up top. And your dad said to me, you cannot make a midfielder a striker for all the money in the world. It's a natural position. They do everything naturally. They know where to make that run. They know where the ball's going to land. They know instinctively where the player's going to knock the ball to or where the defender's going to make a mistake. He said, and midfielders are so used to watching the ball, the play from midfield in front of them, and then when they've got to turn and face the play, it's a totally different game, and the game's backwards to them, and it's dead difficult. And that's a point that sort of, if you're putting square pegs in round holes up front for City, your movements and your goal scoring threat isn't going to be what it is. And for all the amazing player De Bruyne is, he might be a little bit frustrated because when he's getting his head up and he's usually got someone to hit early and then to chase after the ball and fill a gap or create a goal scoring chance for himself, he hasn't got that option up there. And that's one of the reasons. So I want to thank Jeff for coming Saturday as well. He was brilliant on Saturday. Long way for you to come down.
Just on that, Thomas, my dad spoke to me after the game and he gave our Paul man of the match. So that worked out well.
Doesn't play for us.
Exactly. So I think he's right as well, because if you look at, you've got Sterling and Mahrez plays probably furthest up as well out to the midfielders. And you're right, Thomas, they start their runs really deep. Everything they do comes from deep. Sterling is not playing on the shoulder of the last man, whereas Aguero absolutely plays on the shoulder of the last man. And then also, by the way, has the ability to drop in and get the ball and do something with it.
Yeah.
And without that, it would be frustrating. But I do think that what seemed to happen in that game is he was bossing the game for a while and then it just dropped off. And I don't know whether that is the frustration because he hasn't got someone in front of him that he can give the ball to. But that's a massive problem for them this year if they don't have either of them playing. They're going to struggle.
Just on that side, though, so, you know, one of the top managers used to say you needed 4 quality strikers. Now, I don't want to go on about Man City's transfer policy, but if you look at the teams that have won the league over the years, they've had 4 quality strikers, or at least 4 strikers who can come on and do a job. You know, you look back at the Ferguson United era when he had Dwight York, he had Cole, Sheringham and Solskjaer.
Yeah.
And if you've only got 2 strikers going into a Premier League season, is there something wrong with that?
Unless he knows something that we don't as well. But also, he's so focused on his back 4 because they've been so shocking at times that I think he's taken his eye off the front line. Because I agree. I mean, a team that wants to win the league after what happened last year and after how far Liverpool were ahead of them, you need goals. You're not winning it unless somehow you deal with that problem. Now they've got a real problem because who was it last week? Was it Delap?
Delap, yeah.
On the front for them. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Why wouldn't you go out and buy a centre forward when you've spent 410 million on defenders?
And I think that's the bigger issue. I think there's something massively wrong at City's transfer policy because you can't take your eye off it. Ferguson wouldn't have allowed that. Klopp hasn't allowed it. Wenger wouldn't have allowed that. These teams who are going for the championship need to have a squad of quality players. And if you've got 15 or 16, you might not be in with a chance. You need, if you're going for Champions League, plus the Premier League, plus the FA Cup, you need to have 4 top strikers. You might get away with 3 top strikers and someone who's coming through the ranks. But you know, like an Origi. But but I do think City are not quite right at the moment, and there's something not right at the club.
Just want to say one last thing. Man City have spent 410 million on defenders. Now, John Henry bought Liverpool, the whole club, for 300 million. He bought the lot for 300 million in his group. And they've spent 410 million pounds, nearly £500 million on defenders, and they still can't get it right.
Yeah, to be fair, Tom, when he bought the club, Liverpool had no defenders either.
Well done, Darren. And listen, you'll get your chance later, Dad. You can't take the piss now. You'll have to wait. All right, so next up was Newcastle against Burnley at Newcastle. Newcastle won 3-1. Thomas's mate, Sam Maximum, scored. And Callum Wilson scored 2, one of which was a penalty. Westwood scored for Burnley. Bit of a nothing game. Newcastle did well. The scores that we had for this one was I had Newcastle winning 1-0. Darren had it 1-1. And Thomas had it 3-1 for Newcastle. So got it spot on.
Joking?
No.
That's the only thing it did right at the weekend, apart from play Simon up front.
Yeah.
I thought Maxim was outstanding in that game.
Brilliant money.
Oh, I haven't seen him play that well since he signed for Newcastle. He was just, for Wilson's second goal, I think it was, or one of the goals across the box, he knocked the ball past the fullback or centre half and had 10 yards to make up. It was superb, but a lovely ball across. And it's interesting because I think Steve Bruce gets a lot of flack off a lot of people, and actually he steadied the ship again at Newcastle. He steadied the ship at Villa when he was at Villa, and he's doing quite well under difficult circumstances because you don't know if the club's getting sold or not.
Yeah, Thomas, do you like him because his head's the similar size to yours?
I've only got a little head.
No, the one on your shoulders.
Hey, but
to be honest, looking at size of heads here, it's more like Darren's, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But, he's done a great job. He's done a great job. He's the type of fella that you throw in. He's the unfancied Sam Allardyce. Throw him in a job where it's all gone to rubbish and he can sort it out. Give him a bit of time and a little bit of money and a bit of patience. He drags the results along and then slowly he'll improve the football, which he's doing at Newcastle. He's bought some decent players and I really like his approach. And he's like, well, if we're going to get sold, we're going to get sold. Am I going to lose my job? I might lose my job. Are they going to get Rafa Benitez back, or are they going to, we sell them to the Saudi Arabians? Are they going to try and sign Pep Guardiola? It is what it is. I just like his attitude. I like the way he runs a football club, and the players always seem to want to play for him, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, says a lot about what's going on in the back of a club as well, doesn't it? If you've got players who really want to play, and also they seem to be trying harder now. So it's not just that they like playing for them, but they're working really hard and they're grinding out results. And I think that's a good result. Burnley are a decent side. Not started out great, but they're a hard side to beat, and they battered them. And to be fair, I thought Newcastle looked great.
Yeah.
It's a good win. All right, so let's move to Sunday. Daz, don't worry, we'll get there in the end. There's some way to go before we get to the point where you can start glowing. All right, so the first game was Arsenal-Sheffield United. Arsenal winning 2-1. Sacco and Pepe scoring for Arsenal, and McGoldrick scored a whopper for Sheffield United. We've talked about both Arsenal and Sheffield United a lot. So Arsenal have started pretty well after having a crap season last year and finishing the season really poor. Sheffield United had a great season last year and have started this year really poor. And it played out more or less how we expected it to. So me and Darren both had Arsenal winning. Thomas, you had Sheffield United winning 1-0 because you thought they'd get things back on track. But I think that played out to form, and Arsenal did well. Sheffield United did not look good again.
Yeah, no, Arsenal had the lion's share of the game, and they played quite well, Arsenal. They had a guy there, I forget his name, in the midfield. I think they got him on loan, number 8, I think he was, or something like that. He was the one who was going back, getting the ball.
Ceballos.
That's him, yeah. He was the one who was going back to the defence, picking the ball up and moving Arsenal, passing the ball. He had a spell there of about 20 minutes, half an hour, where he was exceptional. He was absolutely brilliant. He was doing a lot of the ball carrying, getting people moving, and it looked good. Aubameyang looked stale, didn't do anything in the game for me. He dropped Lacazette up front. I don't think he started, which is unusual because I thought he was playing quite well. But he's just gone out and bought another 1 or 2 players, and I think he's slowly getting it the way they played. They played from the back, Arsenal, and he played quite well from the back at times. And you almost think it was like, he's left Man City, the manager. Arteta, thank you. He's left Man City. And Arsenal start to play some decent football at times, really are. And he's getting players to play a certain way. I'm excited for Arsenal at the moment. I think they're going to do very well this year.
I think you were trying to say they're playing with identity, Darren.
I'm refusing to say that word this week because of the contract clause.
Well, I think Simon hit the nail on the head. It did go with form, and Arsenal were really good for most of the game. But the point I wanted to raise was the possible sending off, if you can remember it. Gabriel gave David Luiz a bit of a short pass. He got it. He mustn't have got the shout to say he had a man on. And as he went to kick it, the forward come in, got a touch on it. and he was close to getting it. And as he ran to get it, David Luiz pulled his shirt and pulled him back. Now, he didn't go down, and Leno was able to come out of the goal, get the ball and kick it away. And Chris Wilder, after the game in his interviews live on Sky, was absolutely fuming. I mean, he kept his composure, absolutely fantastic. But he asked the people, his players, what they thought. He already knew from his backroom staff what they thought the decision should have been. He then asked the Sky commentator what the people in the studio thought, and everyone agreed that even though the guy didn't go down, it was a blatant foul, and David Luiz should have been sent off. What do you think? I think it was a red card. I think he would have got the ball, or he would have close to getting the ball. Goal scoring opportunity. Do you agree or not?
I think it's back to that same conversation that we had the other week, wasn't it? About, I think it was the Mane getting pulled down when he was running through. Is he going to reach the ball? Is he not going to reach the ball? Does that matter? Does that make it a foul? Not a foul? I thought it was a red card when I first seen it. And then when I seen the replays, I thought it was a red card. He's obviously caught himself, realised he can't catch him, and it's grabbed his shirt. If it's a goal scoring opportunity, or it looks like a goal scoring opportunity from what you could see. So for me, that was a red card.
I think the problem already you're going to have is the guy, Mane, got sent off, didn't he, if I'm not mistaken?
The guy who pulled him down, yeah.
Yeah. And then this guy hasn't got sent off. So where's the consistency? That's all players want. It's consistency. It was a red card all day. But if you're not getting that consistency in this start of the season, they need to be looked at with referees saying, if this happens, it's a sending off. Because otherwise, you'll take that risk and you'll say, oh, we'll get a yellow, I'll take the yellow. If you're not making it a red, then they're going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And then the inconsistency comes. But I do think sending off all day. And David Luiz actually does that quite a lot. He does that. If you look over the last 2 years or so and playing centre half, he does it quite a lot. And I think he has that extra touch sometimes and a little bit of a relax trying to play the ball, but sending off all day.
But part of the problem is that this is, again, back to what we were saying about referees giving VAR the decision to make, as opposed to making it themselves. Now, if that had have happened when VAR didn't exist, I'm not convinced that he'd have got a red card for it. But while VAR does exist, he should have got a red card for it. Because you're right, Daz, if it's going to be consistent, if you're going to be consistent in how you apply the laws and how you utilise VAR, you've got to use it, and he's got to be sent off.
Why didn't the referee go and have a look at it?
Well, I think my next part of the question to you guys is, and what Chris Wilder said was, if this was one of the bigger teams and it was their forward running through and got that tug, would they have got the decision? So I was thinking about it, and what I thought was, when it happened to Mane the other week against Chelsea, and the referee bottled out and only gave the yellow card, why didn't the referee, if he give David Luiz a yellow card and then go to VAR? Because then he's made a decision. So, and if his decision is it's no foul, then VAR should be saying, have you seen the shirt pull there? Do you want to have a look at it? There's a few elements that I think they've got wrong altogether on that decision.
But the fact that he's give a foul, he's give a yellow, tells me he knew. He's sure.
No, he didn't give a yellow.
Did he give a yellow? I thought he had done. Sorry.
No, didn't give a free kick.
Yeah, no.
He played on, didn't he? Because Leno then come and kick the ball away.
Yeah.
But well, VAR should interrupt that and say that's a clear and obvious mistake. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point of it. But again, that's back to what we were saying before. He doesn't, as far as he's concerned, nothing happened. So if you're going to apply VAR, then they have to come back and say, that was definitely a free kick, come and have a look at it. He has a look at it, and he would have seen that it's a red card. Well, our opinion is it's a red card.
The only thing then that I can think possibly has happened is, because they're all mic'd up and they can talk direct to Stockley Park and to the assistants, whether he's then said, I don't think there's nothing in there while it's playing. Yeah, so and then they've gone, okay, well, the referee's made the decision, and is it completely wrong? And they've gone, well, is it clear and obvious error? I don't know. And they've let the game play on, where they should have pulled it back and said, that's obviously a foul.
But Thomas, if they're talking all the time,
yeah,
and they're watching the television, like we're watching the television at home, Surely they should be saying, go and have a look at that because there's a free kick there and it's a possible... If it's a normal free kick, you just play on. But there was an opportunity for possibly a goal. And that's where VAR should be getting involved and saying, stop the game, there's a free kick, we don't know whether it's a red card, but we definitely think there's something in it worth looking at because it could have led to a goal. And Chris Wilder's got every right to question that, and that should be explained to him why that didn't happen.
Yeah. Funnily enough, he said that the last 3 games he's had, in one of them games he's had a player sent off, he's had, and a couple of decisions, real big decisions have gone against him. For the last 3 games or last 3 game weekends, he's had someone from the FA phone him to apologise, to say that the referee or VAR got a decision wrong in the last 3 games that have been officiated. And then he said, I don't want a phone call because of this. I want it to be sorted out. And that's when he threw in, if this was a big club, is that going to happen to them?
I don't know whether I buy into that. I get what he's saying, but I don't know whether I buy into that. Maybe it's just more high profile with the bigger teams, but I don't buy into the fact that they're favouring the bigger teams. Although I support Liverpool, so that's hard to say in it. If you're supporting one of the lower teams, how do you feel about it?
That's so harsh saying we're a lower team after our win on Sunday. How dare you? Have you seen the league table side?
Yeah, I'm trying my best to keep it.
Hey, I tell you what, you set that up beautifully. I'll ask Thomas. God. Thomas, what's it like being a supporter of a lower team?
Well, mate.
All right. So, next game was Leicester-West Ham. And West Ham won 3-0. I did not call this at all. I had 3-0 Leicester. Darren, you had 3-1 Leicester, and Thomas had 0-0. And your mate scored, Thomas Antonio, 4-0s, and Bowen scored a cracker as well towards the end. Yeah. Great performance by West Ham, made Leicester look useless, didn't get many chances. Vardy was totally out the game, missed a couple of decent chances as well, but great win for West Ham.
I think the best decision West Ham have made this season is keeping Moyes at home. Because since he's been at home, Alan Irvine and Stuart Pearce have been running the show at the games. They've been brilliant. They've been absolutely brilliant.
Superb. Mikel Antonio was absolutely brilliant. He's just growing in that position, playing centre forward. He got a bit of a highlight reel on Match of the Day too afterwards. The spoke really highly of him. But his goal to set things up. So he won the ball in midfield, just being his usual bully, aggressive self. Knocked the ball infield and then made the charge right to the back. But he made the charge to the back post, but then screamed for the ball. The guy had no option but to ping it in towards him. Absolute beauty of a ball. And he literally just, boosh, in you go. Beautiful goal. West Ham thoroughly deserved the win, and Leicester were not at the races whatsoever.
Boosh.
Boosh, yeah.
Mighty Boosh.
Here's one for you then, lads. What do you think? Is he worth a top 4, 5, 6 side coming in for him in January?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Is he standing out?
If Man City are struggling,
is he standing out in an average side, or has he really got the ability? Again, it's another one of them you don't really know until you put him in. But I don't think he cost that much money, so maybe he's worth the risk.
Is he old? I don't know. Is he about 30? Is he something like that? Is he? Or...
Yeah. I think he's been around the block. He's played through the leagues, hasn't he? But no, he reminds me of an Emile Heskey type. That would be a brilliant foil for a top striker because he's so strong. You know, he can bully 1-2 defenders. He's that big and strong, and just the ball can just play off him. And your little nippy striker, your Aguero, for example, would feed off him all day long.
Here's one for you. What about Man United?
Well, I don't know, because it's almost like he wouldn't fit their style.
Yeah.
But I mean, do United need to change their style? That's the next question, probably, given what happened on Sunday.
Well, I just look and I think they need someone to hold the ball up. He can do that in abundance. He's got pace. He's got aggression. He can play.
He does hold the ball up, but that's not. He doesn't like to. Well, it doesn't appear like he likes to play that game. He wants to get the ball down and run at people. Yeah. So I don't know whether that's natural. So then what you might end up with is him taking some of Rashford's and Martial's space away from them.
Yeah, Martial's out for a few weeks, so don't worry about him.
He's not playing. He's not playing like a 9 and holding the ball up and laying it off for them. He wants to get the ball down and go, even though he will do that, and he does it for West Ham, but he has to because they play that long ball game as well. So I don't know whether he definitely seems to want to get the ball down and play. So I just don't know whether he'll fit. But I mean, why wouldn't you take a chance if you were especially outside of the top 2 or 3 teams? I mean, it wouldn't be a lot of money to get him in to give it a go.
I just look at United. They got Ingalo, is it, of someone?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, he's better than Ingalo. Massively better than Ingalo. And I think he's worth a punt, possibly, as a different option to what United have got, because they are struggling in their transfer market. So something to look out to.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, because there's been some changes there as well. So the next game was Southampton, West Brom. We've all got a bit of a soft spot, I think, for Southampton. Southampton won 2-0. I had 2-2. Darren, you had 2-1 for Southampton, and Thomas had 2-1 for Southampton. Gineppo scored, and then Romeo scored an absolute whopper as well of a volley.
Brilliant goal.
But I tell you, the highlight or the low light of that game was how poor West Brom's defending was. It was absolutely shocking. The amount of times they got caught 3-on-3, and it wasn't because like Liverpool were getting caught because they were playing a high line. They were getting caught because their midfield was just getting dragged in, and their defence was getting caught out. But they got caught so many times where they had 3 or 4 on 3 players, and they looked absolutely useless and didn't do much going forward either.
Yeah, I'm not sure the manager's going to last till Christmas. I think they need massive changes at West Brom. They've not done really much in a transfer over the transfers.
They bought that, what's his name? Diangana?
Diangana, yeah.
They brought him in, but outside of that.
Yeah, I just don't see a way out for West Brom. I think, for all they did well in the Championship, they've not got anything else. And I look around thinking, who's going to score the goals? Who's going to stop the goals? There's nothing there. And I think they've got a massive, massive issue already so early in the season. I think the manager will go by Christmas.
I think they'll stick with him. I like Bilic. I think he's done really well to get them up. They try and play football the right way. I just don't think they've settled and found their feet in the Premiership yet. And I think, give them till the end of this month, you're all right being down the bottom or the very bottom. It's once you get past November and December, as long as you start showing improvements and you start keeping up the league, and you can give them that time to then settle in. They were poor. Saints score. Oh, boy,
Getting phone calls. Hang on, Darren. Everyone you know's here.
Yeah, it's a Liverpool scout, lads. I have to put that away.
Is
you
it
want
Sky
me to go in?
Sports?
Do you want me to go in and sort the defence out? So I'll have to get back to him on that one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But just on that, Thomas, though, I think that it's okay saying, we'll give him to the end of October. We'll give him time. It's the mentality. It's the mentality. If you're at the bottom, on the bottom 2, end of October, and you look up and you're thinking, we're 5, 6, 7 points behind already. That's a lot to catch up. Villa struggled last year and we were always down there. And the mentality is once you go 1 goal down, you're looking at each other thinking, are we going to get out?
And they appeared to do that. They definitely seemed like they had no ideas. But so I'm definitely with you, Thomas, in that I think they'll stick with him for a while.
Yeah.
But I'd be very surprised if they didn't go down. They are nailed on to go down. So if he does last, he's only lasting until the back end of the season and he's gone anyway.
But the thing is, do you think it's right that they get rid of him when he's done such a good job, got them up, won them promotion? They're playing great stuff in the Championship. They haven't invested heavily. In fact, they haven't invested enough to compete with the Brightons, the West Hams, who have spent 40, 50, 60 million on a couple of players. To then say, well, you're not keeping us up. We're going to sack you. Bring someone else in. Not give them any money. You might as well stick with him. And if they go back down, at least he knows how to get them back up again.
But it depends what question you're asking.
Yeah.
If you're asking the question of, from a football perspective, is it the right thing to do to stick with that manager? Then I think we would all agree that they should stick with him. If you're asking from a PR perspective, is the right thing to stick with that manager? Or will they feel like they have to make a change because if they don't, the fans will get on their backs and they'll look like they're not doing anything about it. I think that's what drives a lot of decision making around managers. It's not necessarily the fact that the manager's done and doesn't know what they're doing anymore, because what tends to happen is those managers lose their job and then a month later they don't know the job. So it's not like they can't do it anymore. I think it's a PR decision in the majority of cases.
I think they'll be looking at their business model and thinking, okay, we're in the Premier League, we'll get this amount of money, and they're almost, because if you don't invest, or if you invest wrongly, you're almost setting yourself back up to do well in the Championship again. And are they going to be a yo-yo club over the next couple of years until get a new investor or they get money? Who knows? But I can't see Bilic lasting until Christmas or after Christmas.
To that point, Thomas, look at Pochettino. So Pochettino was like being lauded as a great manager, and then all of a sudden he's out of Tottenham and Mourinho's coming. Mourinho previously lauded as being a great manager and is out of Man United and then he's back into Tottenham. It's a merry-go-round. As I say, I think a lot of it is driven by PR. It's not driven by what's happening on the field.
So I think it starts at your club. So, for example, if the club know that you're doing a good job and you're doing the best that you can with what you've got, and they've dealt you the hand, and they know that, and the fans are going along with it, then it's a case of going, well, we're going to stick by them. We're going to stick by him, like they did with Eddie, like Bournemouth did with Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
Eddie Howe, they had no intention of sacking Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe resigned at the end of the season when he took them down. Now, if Eddie Howe would have said, I'm going to bring the team back up, they'd have stuck with him because the fans were all on the same hymn sheet. The owner and the board were, and they knew that they hadn't really backed him financially to compete with a lot of the teams that were around him that he was fighting against. So it was just down to his skill as a manager and getting the best out of the players that he had.
Yeah,
I don't think Darren's being very fair on Village. They've come up and they haven't found their feet. They've played a couple of good games where they were 3-0 up at half time against Chelsea, but they haven't really found their feet yet. And I think as the weeks go on and they become a little bit more battle hardened and figure out what it's all about and how they have to set up to try and not set up, but what they've got to do as a player and as a team to compete against the top boys in the Premier League, I think they'll get better. I'm not saying they're going to survive, but they'll give a better showing of themselves as it's going along. And I think it's unfair to judge and say, let's get rid of him. If it's his fault that they're performing badly, then get rid of him. I've got no... But I can't see it being that case. I think if I was owning that club and thinking, do you know what? He's done a brilliant job last year. I'm going to keep him on.
You've got to remember, though, Daz is getting cocky now because Villa are doing so well. So any team that in the bottom half, he's going to be screaming for the managers' heads and everything.
Yeah,
I've just put £1 on Sam Allardyce for West Brom in January. But just on that, Thomas, Bournemouth and Eddie Howe. Bournemouth gave Eddie Howe money, and I think he spent it wrongly on average players and injured players, and he spent 15 million on the guy from Liverpool. What was his name?
Yeah, Jordan Ibe.
Jordan Ibe. And you know, to say they haven't backed him, I think that's poor because they have backed him. He just made poor transfers. West Brom, I look at West Brom and thinking, football's a fickle game. If you're not in with a chance of staying up by January, he's going to go. That's just my opinion.
But the point is that he's going for so that the fans can see that the club are doing something about it, as opposed to the fact that he's not good at managing. Because what'll happen is he'll go and then he'll just go somewhere else. Yeah, and he'll either go out the country and then come back at some stage. I don't know. I think we all agree that the way the manager roles are set up now and how it turns into this merry-go-round is not healthy for any club. And we'd much prefer that people were buying into a manager and backing a manager. We talked about United and Solskjaer, and obviously we want Solskjaer to stay on while United are getting beat a lot. But if they need to decide either to back him or don't back him. If they're not going to back him, go and get someone else and then back them. Or if you want to keep him in a job, spend the money. And again, we'll talk about that in a bit because they have actually spent some money. But the next game was Wolves versus Fulham. And obviously, Thomas has got a big soft spot for Wolves, and they won 1-0 and Neto scored. It was a bit of a nothing game. Fulham are absolutely useless. I missed a couple of cracking chances, but there wasn't much in. I turned it off in the end. Boring.
There goes our Wolves and Fulham contingent.
Yeah.
But Wolves haven't really sparked yet, have they, at all?
No.
And Fulham, Again, similar to West Brom, you know, they love the manager down there, but if he's not doing the job, if Fulham can't see themselves in the fifth from bottom, he'll go as well.
I'd love to see him stay though, because I really like him. I really like Scott Parker.
Yeah, and I like Scott
Don't know
Parker.
Why.
He was he was one of them players, wasn't he? Just give everything.
Did you say you don't like him, Thomas? Because that's a surprise.
I don't like him.
Who did he play for?
He played for Charlton and Chelsea.
Yeah. Yeah, well, good news is if you don't like him, they're not doing that well. All right, so let's get to the big games. So the first big game on Sunday was United Tottenham, which obviously by the end of it there was an awful lot of chat going on about how crap United were, and Tottenham won 6-1. So Fernandes scored the penalty with that stupid stutter run up, and Ndombele scored. Son got 2, Kane got 2, and Aurier got 1. I really like Aurier, by the way. I think he's a decent player. Loads going on in the game. The Martial red card, the Harry Maguire's defending for Spurs' first goal. What was that about? He was actually pulling Shaw back. I don't understand. But either way, Tottenham played well. United were not good at all and got a man sent off. But it didn't look good for United.
I agree. I really enjoyed the game. I thought Tottenham were just great at times. And before the sending off, were well on top. And I could only see it going one way anyway. It was a Tottenham win all day long. United started, got a penalty. I don't know what they've done to referees by a penalty. 30 seconds in, it was a stupid penalty.
It was a penalty, though.
Yeah, it was a penalty. But, I mean, the amount of penalties that they've got, it just knocks me sick. Then Tottenham took control. Harry Maguire pulled Luke Shaw down. He thought he was in the WWF. Clothesline.
It was really bad. He literally had hold of him, but he didn't only have hold of him once. He got hold of him twice, 2 different ways.
Yeah, that was really good. Then something that I've noticed the last couple of games, which I've never ever took notice of and didn't realise how much of a good player Harry Kane is. So I've always thought of him as a very typical old style centre forward, that anything that drops in the box, he's going to be close to it and he's going to put it in, and big and strong and a bit of a bully around the area. But he showed it the other week where he had 4 assists for Son, and then the assist for Son on Sunday was class. So he got brought down for a free kick. He was up, spun, put the ball down, stopped it dead, played Son right through. It was just brilliant. Absolutely great. What a great bit of play. And then Tottenham just totally dominated. The sending off was absolutely ridiculous. And to be fair, I don't like being fair to United. It could have been a red card each.
Yeah, Lamella went down like a ton of bricks, didn't he, after he started the situation. But I mean, that's pretty typical. You would have thought that VAR would sort that kind of stuff out in the game. Unfortunately, it's missed one there, because if they were sending Martial off, they definitely should have sent Lamella off. Yeah,
just send them both off for me. Totally agree. I think Lamella, if he'd have gone down on a Saturday like that, his own players would have kicked him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Tottenham, Harry Kane looked fit. For the first time in a long time, he looked sharp, he looked fit. And again, having runners off him is going to play a dividend for Tottenham, because I just think Son is an outstanding footballer. Tottenham look strong. They've got Bale to come in, remember, as well, when he gets fit. And, you know, it was funny because watching Harry Redknapp on the transfer centre, and he was like, you know what, Tottenham could get into top 3, possibly top 2. They've got a good chance. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure, but actually, if they can keep the players fit, they're going to be in with a shout, definitely top 4, possibly top 3.
Yeah, Champions League football, I think, for Tottenham is definitely their goal for this year, and they've definitely got a chance. I really like, obviously, we've all got a bit of a soft spot for them after the all or nothing on Prime, but other than that, they're playing good football. They look good. Most of the time, I come away from games being a bit disappointed with Harry Kane's all-round game. I think his finishing is amazing, and his old-school striking understanding is brilliant, but his all-round game, I'm always a bit underwhelmed, but I thought he was absolutely brilliant on Sunday.
They look so much better with Højbjerg in centre midfield.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Didn't they? And he was brilliant, and that pass for the last goal was superb. cut right from midfield, right out to the wing, and then he hit a first. It was Oyo scored. Great goal, great performance by Tottenham. And United are again all over the place.
United's shape was unbelievable. I wouldn't expect to see that on kids' football. Defence don't know what to do in the midfield. Pogba was so poor. In those games, he should be grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. He doesn't do enough for me in games at all. You're looking around thinking, who's going to... United of old have always had leaders at the back, in midfield, up front, across the park. They've had leaders. There's no leader out there for United. I don't know what's going on. The club needs to look and say, Sam, what you said before about are they going to back Solskjaer or not? At the moment, the half backing them and half not. They're not quite sure. There's no point to that at all. If you want to go and get Pochettino, go and get him and give him a transfer money and go out. They're haggling over 20 million for that Sancho. I'm thinking, United would have done that deal under Ferguson back in June.
Yeah.
That would have been done and dusted. But they seem to be not quite sure. And now, did they go for like the third or fourth choice because that's the cheaper option? Is the financial issues at United? Is the Glazers still in charge of that? Do they still own that club?
Yeah, but I think there's probably financial issues everywhere, and I think that's they put a stake in the ground, haven't they? And they've stood and said, okay, we're not paying that amount of money for Sancho. But you're right, Daz. In years gone by, that would have happened, and they'd have probably got a better deal because Ferguson was involved in it. But they're not going to get that kind of deal because people know they're desperate. So people are going to put a stake in the ground and stand and wait and wait and wait. And then if it doesn't go great, he stays because all that's going to happen with Sancho is the price is going up.
Yeah, I look and I just think they knew it was 120 million euros, whatever it was, back in June. That didn't change in the 3 or 4 months later. Yeah. And they were haggling. They also wanted Grealish at one point for 80 million. And that didn't get talked about then. They always seem to not quite go and get who they want. And that's, for 20 years, that's been unheard of. United have always gone and got the players they wanted.
Yeah.
Somehow. And they got it sorted. And they came, similar to Chelsea, they went out, got the players and got them in for pre-season. United, the whole club and the board need to be looked at. I thought Patrick Everett on Sky made a great point there. You're pointing at the managers all the time. And he got a bit upset over it, to be honest with you, which I found great because I think it's great getting emotional over the game. But the board needs to be looked at. There's massively something wrong with the United board because that never happened under Ferguson. They've had the last 3 or 4 managers after Ferguson, and you would argue that they haven't really backed them.
I kind of want to carry on talking about this for a while because what's going to happen next is Thomas is going to go downhill really quickly.
I am, but I'm enjoying this bit because I'm just soaking up all the positive vibes. I've finished my beer. I don't know whether to just run away.
Just walk off. Or you can't. That's part of the deal. So let's get to it. Let's get to the...
One thing that Darren didn't hit on, and I think we have over the weeks, is even all the options that United were looking at and the players that they've signed in the transfer window, you're looking at round pegs for square holes. They haven't dealt with the massive gaping issues that they've got right the way through the team. So they've signed all these players. They haven't signed a centre-half to play alongside Maguire. They haven't sorted out someone in midfield to carry Pogba because he doesn't do enough. They haven't sorted out up front, and they're looking at a winger, this Sancho, like he's going to be the saviour and sort out all the problems. He's not. Even if they signed him, they're not going to sort out what's happening behind him. So,
yeah.
And Liverpool hopefully was just a one-off. This has been a catalogue of errors for 18 months now that they haven't addressed, or they're addressing what seems to be in the wrong way.
Yeah, they're definitely addressing problems that don't seem to exist, or they're not seeing what the bigger problems are. But I mean, that happens in a lot of clubs. You look for years, Liverpool fans and pundits were shouting to buy a centre-half and buy a keeper, and we didn't do it, and you wonder why, and there's stuff going on at the club that you just don't know about. So it definitely appeals to Darren's point that there's stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. And every so often, you will hear people like Roy Keane and Patrice Evra and Neville mention things that are going on in the boardroom. You never really get the detail, but there's definitely something going on there that we don't know about. Okay, so let's get to the Villa-Liverpool game. Yeah, that's exactly how we feel.
Simon, I've got my 10-point plan on PowerPoint. Can I share screen?
Stop. So it finished 7-2. Thanks for the 7-Up reference earlier, Daz. The only bright spark for Liverpool was Salah with his 2 goals. Watkins scored the perfect hat-trick. Grealish scored 2. McGinn and Barkley. What a performance from Villa, and what a shocking performance from Liverpool.
And to be fair, Villa could have had 10.
Yeah.
Barkley missed 2 or 3 more. And Barkley, I thought was outstanding. I thought brilliant. He got the ball, picked the ball up in midfield and drove forward. I thought Liverpool, I don't want to keep going on how Liverpool poor they were, but Villa actually tactically were brilliant. They made that switch of play quite a lot over Trent, and that's where they got in quite a lot of times down the left. I thought Watkins up front was outstanding. He held the ball up well. He got in front of his defenders, played people in, and Liverpool continued to play the high line. And there was no press on our players. So our players were just looking up, no press, playing down the channels, putting in between the centre-half and the full-back, and running to goal. I mean, Watkins could have had 4 or 5. It was, and I don't want to say this, but it was quite embarrassing for Liverpool. For the champions to come out and play like that was embarrassing. Villa were outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And I've been a massive critic, as you know, for the system over the last year. But I have to say, with the right players, I thought it worked very, very well. I thought Douglas Luiz just in front of the back four worked well. Very clever player. He knows when to foul. He knows when to let them go. I thought Konza playing centre-half on the right of Mings, outstanding. Didn't know much about Cash from Forest when we bought him for 14 million. He looks a steal. He looks an absolute steal. Liverpool could have scored maybe another 1 or 2 more. It was such an open game. It was like going to the park and watching kids play. The beauty of it, of course, we put our chances away. A couple of deflections, of course, we were going to get that. But as soon as the first goal, the goalkeeper gave it to Jack Grealish, Liverpool looked nervous at the back. They didn't know what to do. The keeper looked nervous, and that played into Villa's hands. Thomas,
let me just grab a couple of points that you've made there. So firstly, we've talked about this ball over the top of Trent a lot because it happens all the time. However, when Gomez is playing well, Gomez picks a lot of that up for him, and Gomez covers him really well. So even if Trent gets into trouble, Gomez drifts over to the right and either picks up the man, or he'll chase down the man, or he'll make the second, and they'll win the ball back. Gomez was absolutely useless, was just totally not at the races at all. Seemed like he was out of position, was slow, his mind wasn't working quickly enough. When they were playing this high line, there were times when he was stepping out for offside when there was no way they were offside, and he was stepping at the point at which the ball was played. So it was too late anyway. And then he was getting us caught in behind. So I think that was one of our biggest problems. Then you've got this whole high line, and you're right, the biggest problem is I actually thought Jota ran all day, tried his best to get into the game, but he's no Mane. So the press didn't happen. It's clear that Mane creates an awful lot of our pressure up top. And him not being there and Jota being in there for him, I just don't think Jota plays the same game. I actually think Jota is a decent player. He's looked good in the minutes he's had so far. But I felt really let down by Salah and Firmino, because if Mane's not there and Jota's not doing it, why are they not doing it? Because that's our game. And if you're going to play the high line, obviously it was the tactic to play the high line and play the press. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been playing the high line. So they played the high line, didn't play the press. And as you say, Daz, they had all day to play the ball into midfield, turn, and get the ball in behind our back four. That's where we failed, because it could have been 10-5. The reality is we had an extra couple of chances which you should have scored. You definitely had an extra couple of chances which you should have scored. And it's like a Sunday league game. It was absolutely ridiculous watching that high line. And the thing that gets me is that it was happening all first half and it failed. And then it came out in the second half and they did exactly the same again. So you're like, well, what if they see, what are we seeing that they're not?
It's almost this is how we play and we're going to keep playing it. And you can't. Good managers, great managers have to change sometimes. And there was no plan B. That's the first time in 2 or 3 years I've seen Liverpool midfield get bullied.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think Simon hit the nail on the head pretty much with the 2 major talking points, where was Gomez and Trent's side, and also the loss of Mane, which of a team of our quality, we shouldn't fall to bits over losing one player. But it was a Cash playing that side against Jota.
Yeah.
He had it far too easy. So Jota didn't know whether he was playing centre forward, dropping onto Cash when he should have. They got through past our forwards very quickly with our first line of the press. Then our midfield had a disaster. Naby Keita, Fabinho and Wijnaldum literally just ran round in a big giant circle. And all he seemed to do was just chase after each other and not actually do anything. They didn't influence the game at all. Then you scored our goalie, give a goal away. Disaster. Then I thought, for 5 minutes, pull yourself together. We got a bit of pressure for 5 minutes, but it wasn't the usual pressure where we press and if we've got nothing on, we recycle the ball and then we start to press again and we go. So we push really hard. We try and get an opening. If we don't get it, we recycle it through our back four and then we have a little breather. You knock it across the back four for a minute or two and then we decide to go again and we press again and we press again. And that's the way Liverpool generally play. They didn't do that at all. They literally were playing, oh, the ball's on fire. Give it to him. And they were doing absolutely nothing with it. And at the same time, Trent and Joe Gomez were having an absolute nightmare, which also affected Van Dijk because he seemed to be trying to cover too many things. His head started to wobble because he didn't know whether he was coming or going. And it happened right the way through the team. And the only player that I thought was actually on his game, and I know you saying he should have done more, was Salah. Salah was on his game. He looked absolutely on fire. Every time he got the ball, he didn't get it enough, but every time he was near goal, I thought, he can't miss today. He was Salah from two years ago when he scored all them goals. Every time he looked at the ball, it went in. But the rest of the team really let us down. Really, really poor performance. And it really killed me seeing players like Jack Grealish look good. First game I've ever seen him actually look good. I've seen him in fits and starts in a game here and there. He looked outstanding for the whole game. That absolute balloon from Everton and Chelsea. We made them
your favourite teams.
We made them look good. I've never slagged anyone from Everton. I will now.
He was brilliant in the game. I agree. We did make him look good.
We made them look like the star that he was supposed to be. As soon as he got the ball, it was like the parting of the Red Sea. Go on, there's 30 yards for you to run into. And then when we finally decided to close him down, he had options because we weren't in the right position in the first place. So we've actually created a hole for him to pass into because we've gone to try and close him down. It was just poor all round. Villa were outstanding in the way they dealt with our shortcomings and the pressure that they put us under and the chances that they created was outstanding and fully deserved the win. So congratulations on that, Darren. But a lot of it needs to be looked at by Liverpool because they created a lot of their own problems. They created that massive scoreline because they were so poor. And I think it's fantastic for you being a sports Darren, and I congratulate you again. A lot of it was down to Liverpool's really, really poor play, but also Villa are then going to have the guts to be able to go and take advantage, and they did. A lot of the teams that last year were down the bottom wouldn't have took us on the way Villa did and went so very attacking and really took the game to us.
Just on that, there was a couple of things there. You talk about Trent and Gomez. There was, I think it was one of Watkins' goal where he got put through and he ran and Gomez was chasing him and Gomez actually got back in a decent position. Yeah. But then he showed him inside to the goal.
yeah, onto his right foot.
And you almost think, has he not been told how to defend?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, why on earth would you put someone on that position on the right foot? And I thought decision-making for Liverpool was very poor on the night. And that's most of your footballing game. If you can make better decisions, you're going to play better. Just a couple of things before I get the PowerPoint and the slides up. And I've got cuttings here. We're going to put them on the YouTube. Grealish seemed to enjoy playing with Barkley. I thought both of them looked quite comfortable as though they've been playing each other for a couple of years. And Barkley, you know what? I've never been his biggest fan. I always think he's been a bit overrated because of the expectations that are being put on him. But actually, I think once he looked sharp, he looked fit, and once he gets a couple of games under his belt, he's going to be some player for us if he continues. Liverpool looked unfit. They looked a yard off the game, particularly in the midfield. They didn't know what to do. And I found that very strange for a side that have only taken out 2 players from their starting 11. If you like, you know, when you say Mane and the keeper, everyone else has had Champions League football, and they just looked as though they didn't know what to do. I don't know if that's a bringing over from what happened towards the end of last season when they didn't look great, but got played and won the league, which was, they rightly won the league. But it just doesn't seem right. And one of the big things that got me over the weekend was Graham Souness coming out and saying the grass was too long. So I just thought, well, stop making excuses, Graham. Let's move on from it. And apparently, I just think he's saying, yeah, but, you know, full credit to Villa. You know, they playing it as well. Yeah, we did. And we seem to pass the ball quite well. So don't come out with excuses like that.
I think the reality is Barkley is a decent player, but if you give any kind of decent player that kind of space, and it wasn't never more obvious than on his goal. It was almost like we stood 5 yards off him deliberately. And again, you talked about Gomez running back in and getting past Watkins. And then not only did he show him inside, he showed him inside from 5 yards away.
Yeah.
So all Watkins had to do was shift it and then put it in. We just didn't look at the races. But the thing that got me was the fact that he didn't change the plan in the second half. Because I thought we'll come out in the second half and we could absolutely batter them here because the game was wide open if he changes it. So he didn't change it at all. That surprised me because there was players that were totally off it. I don't understand why he didn't put Fabinho back into the fence and bring either Milner or Henderson on in midfield. I thought his changes were really odd. Curtis Jones, what are you bringing him on for?
Do you know what it did show, Simon? It did show the depth that Liverpool don't seem to have.
But I think part of that is driven by some of the things that are going on at the moment. So you've got Thiago out with COVID, you've got Mane out with COVID. You've now got Shaqiri out with COVID, apparently. Yeah. And then, you know, you're losing players. And I think when they're that influential, it has an impact, but it never should have that much impact. Thomas, I totally get your point with Salah. No doubt that when he got the ball, he was on it. He was on fire. His finishes were great. Although I do think that his second one, Mings just basically just stayed on the left-hand side of him and didn't step across. And the keeper just showed him that corner, but he had to put it in. My concern with them was Jota is new to the team, but must know the formation because we were playing a high line. So it must have been the same setup. However, no one is doing that pressing like Mane was doing. So if he's not doing it, if he's not on, someone else has got to do it. Firmino was totally vacant. He might as well have not played. But I think that kind of happens when you're in that kind of game as well, because we weren't doing well with the ball. And our midfield, you're right, we're totally missing. We had Henderson and Milner on the bench. Milner is not going to start when we have our full team. But in that scenario, we're getting hammered and we need some guile and some heart in the middle of the park. I put him in every day. I'd have put him in at half time. I don't really understand why Henderson was on the bench and then didn't come on, because he'd have made a massive difference. But we're bringing on players who I don't think are having enough of an impact as well, which is really odd.
Can I ask you both a question then? Do you think that the result that Villa got against Liverpool, 7-2, do you think that will inspire other teams to maybe attack Liverpool more? Because all last year, teams were sitting back saying, well, go on, beat us. Do you think that will change the mentality? I mean, Liverpool got stuffed by a great side. We know that. But do you think that will change some of the mentality when they play against Liverpool? Just a question I want to put to you.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think
so, because Liverpool aren't going to play that bad every week.
Well, no, because they won't play Villa every week, and I get that, Thomas.
To be honest, a thing I picked up from the game was we were robbed a penalty, clear, blatant penalty on Salah, and that would have changed the game. Would have lifted our spirits, and then we would have went on and won. When we didn't get that decision, I think, I don't know what it was, whether you bunged the referee or something.
Thomas, I've just seen some sour grapes there in the background. Do you want to pick them back up?
That's brilliant.
In all seriousness, if teams want to come and have a go with us, it's when we're at our best.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, but we scored 7 against you.
Yeah, to be honest, you fully deserved Darren, hands in the air. You beat us fair and square. We just had a really, really off day.
Can I just ask a question to you guys? So,
Darren,
no, listen.
Darren, can I just say?
Go on.
Podcast, that's what we're here for. You don't need to ask.
I knew it. But do you know when we go to Anfield, can we carry some of them goals over? Like an away leg?
All right, so I've got two more things for you from the game. One was Adrian is, and I know the argument has been ever since, he played 11 games last year and we won 11 games. Well, we won nearly all of our games, so of course, and we were brilliant defensively. However, he's not good enough. I said it before the game. His footwork is shocking. His passing from the back is shocking. He was a massive part of our problem. Gave that first goal away. So that's the one negative. The positive is Villa started 7 English players.
Brilliant.
Which I thought was a really interesting thing because I think that says a lot for the team and the building of the team as well. And they're all 7 young English players as well.
Yeah, we've had a change of our the guy who does all the transfers. He got sacked in August, and we brought this new guy in. And I think that's the philosophy they're going to go down. That's the route they want to go down. Young, hungry players. To have English players in is brilliant. But they were after one or two other players that didn't quite materialise in the transfer window. But I do think, we all know it was a freak result, really. We're probably only going to win by 6 next time. But I just...
The jokes have got better.
They have got better, yeah. But I do think, though, I think Liverpool need to really have a look at themselves over the next 2 weeks. Because if Everton go there, and I know I'm just throwing this out, if Everton go there and play, they have been playing, Liverpool could come unstuck again. And then you have all those fickle fans, like every football club's got, we've got them, everyone's got, who starts painting Klopp out on the side of walls and stuff. Yeah, which should never happen, But what I'm saying is, that's what's going to happen.
Probably happening already.
If Liverpool get beat three games on the run, for example, what's going to happen?
The good news is that you would hope that is a kick up the arse and it makes us really pick it up. I mean, because even if you look at the players that were out in that game, the players that were in should have won the game. I mean, again, bringing Minamino on and even Henderson and Milner on the bench for me is a no-no. I don't understand that. But even with players like that, you still should be winning that game.
Just going back to the keeper, if you know as a defender your keeper's not great with the feet, don't bounce a ball back to him.
Well, Villa did. Villa knew exactly what was going on. They got at the keeper every time he got the ball. So every time we went back to, and what ended up happening was Van Dijk wouldn't pass the ball back to him.
Yeah.
They were deliberately keeping the ball away from him and creating more dangerous situations because they wouldn't give him the ball. But I wouldn't give him the ball either. He's crap. His feet, he's just not good. He's not a bad shot stopper, but his feet are just not good enough. And the way the game is played now, he needs to be good with his feet. Anyway, let's get off this subject before.
I've got another 8 points to make, Simon. Are we leaving them?
Goes off for the All right. So very quickly before we get to the part of the podcast that people have come to listen to, the Wall of Hate, the Thomas Morris Wall of Hate. Let's just very quickly talk about a couple of the signings on deadline day, because deadline day was not as exciting as it normally is, but mainly because we were not doing any business and Villa were not doing any big business either. But there was a couple of big signings. So firstly, Man United bought in Cavani, who I think is a decent signing. He's getting older, but still a quality centre forward. Telles and Diallo. I don't know anything about Diallo, but they brought in another player as well, which I don't really know, but they were the 3 big signings. Again, back to our point, not addressing any of the issues that we think they've got. Yeah. So they didn't buy a keeper to put the guy under pressure, even though don't appear to be playing Henderson, and they haven't bought any centre halves.
I wonder, because I think it just stinks of desperation. It really does, and I think the guy they bought up front is about 3 years too late.
Cavani, yeah, quality footballer, but yeah, he's old.
Yeah, but they bought a left back, haven't they?
Yeah, is that Diallo?
No, is that
Telles?
Is he Portuguese?
Yeah, he's from Porto. He was from Porto, wasn't
he? Yeah. He seems, I mean, the reviews is he's a decent player. Whether he's going to fit in the English league, we don't know until he put a kit on. But the best one that I seen, or the biggest deal, was the Arsenal one for Thomas Partey.
Partey, yeah, quality footballer, him.
He was very good at Anfield for Atletico Madrid last year in the Champions League. Very good. if he can produce that form over here on a regular basis, he's going to be some sign for Arsenal.
And they need a central midfielder as well, because we were saying that's one of their biggest problems.
But you not think, though, that Arteta identified a problem, went out and sorted it, brought someone in. It's quite simple. What United are doing isn't.
Yeah. Well, and then Everton continued their signing spree as well and signed Godfrey from Norwich.
I think that's an interesting one. Don't know much about him. Played for Norwich.
Like an all-right footballer, but I mean, he's never stood out. Well, I've never noticed and thought, oh my God, he's a great player. But Ancelotti seems to know what he's buying, so I'm guessing he'll be a decent player.
Yeah.
And I think Mina will probably go on the bench now, or probably even move on in January.
Maybe. And then Theo Walcott left Everton and went to Southampton for a year-long loan. I think that's probably a good move for him.
Definitely. He wasn't going to name at Everton, and to be honest, his career stalled, didn't it? Big star.
Absolutely.
Now, just on that side, aren't they paying 50% of his wages, Everton?
Yeah. And as we said about Loftus-Cheek, there's another situation there, 150,000 a week. And then the last one that I picked up was Leeds signing Rafinha from Rennes.
Don't know much about him.
Is he the Rafinha that used to play for Bayern Munich? If he is, then he's old and he's very good. If it's not him, then I don't know.
It might be. I don't know. I know he's at Rennes now, or he was at Rennes, but he's gone to Leeds. But again, Bielsa seems like he knows what he's doing. And that would be an odd signing if he signed someone old, because it's seen play with a really high press, high intensity. Unless he's thinking, I'm just going to bring someone in who can do a job. But anyway, they were the big ones. I mean, it was a decent deadline day. I didn't get involved in it too much, kept my eye on it, but because Liverpool weren't doing any big business, it wasn't really that exciting.
Yeah, and I think most of the clubs had already done what they needed to do. So, it was always an expected one. United was left field with those signings, but everyone else, we almost knew they were coming.
Well, I was looking out for City to sign another 4 centre-halves.
Well, I kept my phone on site just in case.
You got no chance.
No, I know a lad who plays next to me.
All right, Tom.
Sorry, do you know what I'd love to get on here? Has anyone seen that Mark Goldridge?
No.
The guy that commentates on all the Man United games, the blonde lad, and he's built a little studio in his house.
Oh, you're joking.
Like Man United and all that. He's got millions of followers. He is absolutely hilarious. He would love it on here, to tell you.
Let's get him on then. All right,
we'd have to try and get him on. It'd be so funny.
We'll make an effort at that. All right, Tom. So we've reached that stage. Everyone's getting excited.
Gonna go home.
You're already home, just in case you haven't noticed. So we want to do the Thomas Morris Wall of Hate. Who are you hating this week?
You've got no idea, have you?
I literally have got no idea.
Oh, okay.
Although I'm guessing it's someone from Chelsea.
Okay, so this week, I'm not hating one person. I'm not even hating 2 people. This week, I'm hating the whole club. So this club is one of the original founder members of the Football League in 1874 and of the Premier League back in 1992. They are one of only 5 clubs to have won the European Cup, winning it in 81 and the 82 season. They are now only 5 European Cups behind the mighty Liverpool. But this week, I'm mostly hating Aston Villa. They are a poor man's West Ham. Now, this isn't because of their lucky win last weekend against the Liverpool side that can't play on long grass. It's because of the arrogance of giving us one hell of a beating and enjoying it. How dare you, Aston Villa? They've been a team that have had some success over the years and won a couple of trophies. But to be honest, they've all got dust on. And nothing in comparison to one of the great clubs the world has ever seen, the mighty Liverpool. They have now won 20 league titles and soon 21. Now, if we can get a lawnmower to away grounds. So my dislike of them started on Sunday, about 5 minutes into the game, when the long grass 4-star keeper to pass it to the most foul player in the Premier League. The diving little crying shit sets up the first goal. That's a Mr. Jack Grealish. who spends more time on the floor than my carpet. And he goes down quicker than a cheap prostitute. Aston Villa are owned by... Oh, God, lost my way there. Aston Villa are owned by an Egyptian billionaire and an American billionaire. So I can only assume they managed to pay the officials for the blatant dodgy decision. Definitely a penalty against Mo Salah. Surely the VAR have to stop play if the mighty Liverpool are trying to play a high line and then 2 or 3 Villa players decide to make late runs through. Come on, sort your shit out. Virgil van Dijk even had his hand up at one point. What more does defence have to do than it is, to play offside? Arsenal did that for years, threw the hand up.
Tony Adams.
What really gets me is that they shouldn't even be in the Premier League after they managed to turn the VAR Wi-Fi off against Sheffield United last year. They managed to cheat their way back in the Premier League, and then they had the audacity to play against Liverpool without any fear, and they've spanked us. Now, don't get me started on, I'm going to say some really rude words then I hope, on that Ross Barkley. He's an ex-Everton player, starting for his new club and scoring on his debut against Liverpool. It shouldn't happen. He shouldn't have been allowed to kick the ball. It's just an absolute joke. Kicked the ball against our defender's legs, so it looped over into our net. He ran away like he was a legend at the club, like Dion Dublin. I could just see him swagging his way down the tunnel towards the Liverpool players, thinking he was the big man. Wait until you get to Anfield, and then we'll see what type of team you are. I did a search to find an Aston Villa legend to put in this, but really struggled to find any, so I had to stick to Dion Dublin. Aston Villa have always been shit. So to top off the whole weekend, we still have that team across Stanley Park, top of the table. And so for not letting us win, to go back where we belong, I will never forgive Aston Villa. So for that, Aston Villa, you are on my wall of hate.
It's an honour and a privilege, Thomas.
Oh my God, that was brilliant. That's the best one, yeah. Well done, that was brilliant. I love that.
I hate Aston Villa.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of hate going around Liverpool for Aston Villa this week. You must be the most hated man in Liverpool this week, Dad.
You'd be surprised because most Liverpool fans don't come from Liverpool, so Everton fans... Everton fans, my phone hasn't stopped.
Well, that was quick. That's as quick as you've ever been.
Hey, if I was quick like that on the pitch, I'd be playing the Premier League.
Yeah. Well, you're self-isolating, so you couldn't play. Thomas did mention...
and we didn't need you.
Yeah, Thomas did mention earlier that we did win 6-0, Daz.
Yeah.
And we played very well.
Can I just say, if I'd been playing, it'd been 6-1.
South Liverpool are marching on. That's
massive game at the weekend. The Alley's away. King George V, half-2 kickoff. No fans allowed, but you can look over the fence.
Sean McCusker's not a fan. He's part of the furniture these days, and definitely your dad. It was hilarious that your dad was there and you weren't. Love it. All right, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy the bit about Liverpool, but I enjoyed the wall of hate on Aston Villa. That just made me feel a little bit better about what's going on at the weekend. All right, so before we finish off, in fact, Thomas, you go first with the final thoughts.
Oh, God. My final thoughts are, thank God it's an international break this weekend.
Daz?
Couple of final thoughts. Klopp out and Villa, it's coming home, lads. Football's coming home.
Typical Villa fan. Singing England songs.
Well, he is a royalist, isn't he?
Yeah,
hey,
it's not
Williams, on. Mate.
Yeah. All right, so that was a good episode. Enjoyed that. Some great games. Again, ridiculous amounts of goals. I read a stat earlier on. So far this year, there have been 3.8 goals per game versus last year there was 2.7 goals per game. And away goals have gone up from 1.2 goals per game to 2 goals per game.
Wow.
So, and this piece was all about how what we were talking about last week, the fact that they haven't had as much time to work on tactically how to defend. So it appears that no one can defend. But it's good for us watching. It seems to work much better in terms of keeping the games exciting. Loads of goals again over the weekend. We'd like a lot of those goals to not come against Liverpool if we can help it going forward, because that doesn't really help retaining the title, which we obviously will do. I'd like to see Villa stay up, but I'd like to see them get spanked by Liverpool at some stage, if possible. Tune into the podcast apps on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio. Watch us on YouTube. Give us some feedback on Facebook, Instagram. Visit the website at www.3meninthefootball.com. And follow us on Twitter as well. Darren loves the Twitter interaction and gets engaged a lot. So get involved. Tell us what you think. Give us your feedback. Tell us what you want us to talk about, and we'll happily do it. All right, lads. See you on the next one.
See you soon, guys. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.